The blizzard howled like a wounded animal against the frosted panes of our upstate New York cabin, turning the world outside into a white void that swallowed everything but regret. I stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, coffee mug trembling in my grip, as Carter, my stepson, the boy I'd raised since he was 15, emerged from the storm, snow caking his boots, his cheeks flushed not just from the cold, but from the fever I'd glimpsed in his eyes all week. "Mark," he whispered, voice raw as the wind, dropping his shovel with a thud that echoed like a gunshot. "I saw you with him last night. In the garage. Don't lie to me anymore." Nothing could have prepared me for the way his words sliced through the air, sharper than the icicles daggering the eaves. We'd come here to the Adirondacks for winter break, escaping the sterile hum of our Manhattan apartment, my job as a high school history teacher grinding me down, his final semester at NYU looming like a guillotine. Ellen, his mother, my wife of 8 years, had begged off at the last minute, some work crisis in Chicago, leaving just us two in this creaking relic of a family retreat. It was supposed to be simple: fireside talks, sledding on the frozen lake, rebuilding the frayed threads between us after years of polite distance. But secrets have a way of thawing in isolation, and mine had been festering since the divorce papers I'd hidden in my desk drawer. Carter was 22 now, all sharp angles and quiet intensity, the kind of young man who turned heads in a coffee shop without trying. Tall, lean from years of track and pickup basketball, with that mop of chestnut hair that always fell into his eyes like he was hiding from the world. He'd been Ellen's from her first marriage, a whirlwind romance that crashed when his dad bailed for a younger model in Seattle. When she and I met at a grief support group, both of us widows in our own ways, her to abandonment, me to a car wreck that took my first husband, I thought blending families would heal us. It did mostly. Carter called me Dad after 6 months, a gift I clutched like a lifeline. But lately, his glances lingered too long over breakfast, his hand brushing mine when passing the salt, electric sparks in the mundane that I chalked up to cabin fever. Last night, though, the fever broke. I'd been out in the garage, fiddling with the snowblower that wouldn't start, when Tom called, my old college buddy, the one who'd crashed on our couch too many times. He was in town for a conference, nursing his own divorce, and we'd ended up sharing a flask of bourbon by the workbench. One thing led to another. His laugh rumbling low, my hand on his knee to steady his story, and then his lips on mine, rough and desperate, tasting like regret and rye. It was a mistake, a slip back into the man I'd buried when I married Ellen. The one who'd loved fiercely in dorm rooms and dive bars before grief convinced me straight-laced stability was the only way forward. I pushed Tom away after 30 seconds, heart hammering, but not before Carter, fetching firewood, had seen it all through the fogged window. Now, in the lamplight of the kitchen, he stripped off his gloves with deliberate slowness, fingers red and chapped, eyes locked on mine like he was daring me to deny it. The clock above the stove ticked mercilessly, marking seconds I couldn't reclaim. "Carter, kid, it's not what you think," I stammered, setting the mug down before it shattered. Lie. It was exactly what he thought, and worse. He stepped closer, close enough that I smelled the pine and sweat on him, the faint citrus of his shampoo cutting through the wood smoke. "Bullshit, Dad." The word hung there, intimate and accusatory, the first time he'd sworn at me since he was a surly teen. His chest rose and fell too fast, like he'd run miles through the snow. "I've known for years. The way you look at guys on TV, the pauses when mom talks about grandkids. And me. God, me watching you, pretending it was just admiration." He laughed, bitter and broken, raking a hand through his hair. Snow melted onto the linoleum, pooling like tears. My stomach twisted. Admiration? From him? I'd noticed it too. The way he'd linger after showers in nothing but boxers, towel slung low, the hugs that pressed too close, too long. I dismissed it as boys becoming men, testing boundaries in a house full of half-truths. But now, with Ellen's absence a ghost between us, the cabin felt like a pressure cooker, steam building to explosion. "Tell me I'm wrong," he pressed, voice dropping to a whisper that scraped my soul. "Tell me you don't feel it too. This pull, like we're the only two people left in the goddamn world." I couldn't. The hook lodged in my throat, yanking me under. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, a different tempest brewed, one that would either drown us or set us free. We didn't speak for the rest of the evening. Carter vanished upstairs to the loft bedroom, the one with the slanted ceiling and view of the pines bent double by wind. I paced the living room, stoking the fire until it roared too hot, mirroring the blaze in my chest. Tom's text buzzed in my pocket. Sorry, man. Heat of the moment. Won't happen again, but I deleted it without replying. What was there to say? I'd cheated, not just on Ellen, but on the facade I'd built for all of us. And Carter. Christ, he'd seen the real me, the one I'd caged since my 20s, when AIDS scares and Reagan-era shame turned underground bars into minefields. By midnight, exhaustion won. I climbed the stairs, the wood groaning under my weight like an old man's confession. The loft door was ajar, a sliver of moonlight spilling out. I meant to knock, to apologize, to rebuild the walls before dawn. But he was there on the edge of the bed, shirtless in the chill, back to me. Tattoo of a compass rose inked between his shoulder blades, a remnant from a rebellious summer in Portland. He didn't turn, but his shoulders tensed, knowing I was there. Dad, he said softly, not a question. I crossed the threshold, the air thick with unspoken sins. Sitting beside him, I felt the mattress dip, our thighs inches apart. The silence stretched, broken only by the distant howl of wolves, real or imagined, who knew in these woods. I'm sorry you saw that. I finally murmured, staring at my hands, calloused from grading papers and fixing leaky faucets. Tom's just a friend. It was stupid. Weak. He turned then, slowly, his face half-shadowed, eyes searching mine with a hunger that mirrored my own buried dreams. Weak? Or honest? His hand found my knee, tentative as a fawn's step, sending jolts up my spine. I should have pulled away, should have fled downstairs, called Ellen, confessed everything. But the storm outside had trapped us, and the one inside had already breached the levees. Our lips met in the dim glow, a brush at first, testing, then crashing like waves on a rocky shore. His mouth was warm, tasting of mint and desperation, hands fisting my sweater as if I'd vanish. I groaned into him, years of restraint unraveling in that kiss, my fingers threading his hair, pulling him closer. It was wrong, so profoundly wrong, stepfather and stepson, bound by law and love in equal measure, but in that moment, it felt like salvation. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, breaths mingling in the cold air. Carter, we can't, I whispered, even as my body screamed otherwise. Why not? His voice cracked, eyes fierce. Because of Mom? Because society says it's poison? I've loved you since I was 18, Dad. Not like a son. Like this. The confession hung, raw and real, stripping us bare. I pulled him into my arms then, holding him as sobs racked his frame. Tears for the boy he'd been, the man he was becoming, the love we'd both denied. We didn't go further that night. The line was too fragile, the fallout too vast. But as we lay tangled under the quilts, his head on my chest, listening to my heartbeat steady like a lullaby, I knew the vacation had just begun its unraveling. Morning dawned brittle and bright, the storm spent, leaving a crystalline world that mocked our inner chaos. Carter was up first, brewing coffee in the kitchen, wearing my old college hoodie that swallowed his frame. He smiled when I entered, tentative, hopeful, like sunlight piercing clouds. Pancakes, he asked, flipping one with exaggerated flair, batter sizzling on the griddle. I nodded, throat tight, sliding onto a stool at the island. We ate in companionable quiet at first, the clink of forks a fragile normalcy. But questions bubbled up, inevitable as the steam from our mugs. When did you know? I asked, tracing the grain of the wood countertop. He shrugged, syrup dripping from his fork. Sophomore year, maybe? You drove me to that debate tournament in Philly, remember? We got stuck in traffic, talked about everything. Books, dreams, the crap my real dad pulled. You listened like no one else. I felt seen. His gaze dropped, cheeks pinking. Then it twisted. I'd catch myself staring at your hands on the wheel, wondering what they'd feel like elsewhere. Guilt knifed me. I'd been blind, too wrapped in my own performance. Husband, father, pillar. And the tattoo. I nodded at his arm, visible now, a small anchor inked on his forearm. Reminder to hold steady, he said softly. Through the waves. You taught me that. We spent the day outside, reclaiming the routine we'd planned. Snowshoeing through the trails, Carter's laughter echoing as he pelted me with snowballs, his throws wild and joyful. By the frozen lake, we built a fire from scavenged branches, roasting marshmallows until they charred black. He leaned against me as the sun dipped, our fingers laced casually, the touch a secret language. That night, barriers crumbled further. After dinner, venison stew from the freezer, hearty and warming. We settled by the hearth with a bottle of Ellen's Cabernet. The wine loosened tongues, stories flowing like the fire's glow. I told him about my first love, a barista named Alex in '98, stolen weekends in the village before fear drove us apart. AIDS took him, I admitted, voice thick. I swore off it all after. Thought marriage to your mom was my redemption. Carter's hand covered mine, thumb stroking my knuckles. It's not redemption if it's a lie. He shifted closer, the heat between us rivaling the flames. Our kiss this time was slower, exploratory, lips parting, tongues tentative, building to a rhythm that left us breathless. My hands roamed his back, tracing the compass tattoo, feeling the rise and fall of his ribs. He straddled my lap, hoodie discarded, skin fever-hot against mine. Wait, I gasped, even as I arched into him. Ellen. Fuck Ellen. He growled, not cruelly, but with the fire of youth unchained. She doesn't see you. I do. We made love there on the rug, urgent and tender, his body yielding yet strong, gasps mingling with the crackle of logs. It was ecstasy laced with agony, every touch a vow and a violation. Afterward, curled together, his whispers painted futures, leaving New York, a life in the mountains, unapologetic and free. I held him, dreaming it possible, even as dread whispered of consequences. But paradise fractures. 2 days later, Ellen called. Conference wrapped early, flying in tomorrow. Miss you both. How's the snow? Carter's eyes met mine over the phone, a silent pact. Deep, I replied. Can't wait to see you. That lie sealed our doom. The cabin felt smaller after her call, walls closing like a vice around our stolen idol. Carter and I moved through the afternoon in hushed urgency, chopping wood until our hands blistered, making love in the loft with the door locked against ghosts. Each thrust, each murmured endearment, was laced with the ticking clock, her plane landing at Albany by noon tomorrow, rental car crunching up the drive by dusk. We tell her, he insisted that evening, as we soaked in the clawfoot tub, his back to my chest, water sloshing with our confessions. Together, no more hiding. I traced the knobs of his spine, water beading like sweat. It's not that simple, kid. She's your mom. My wife. This could destroy us. He twisted to face me, water cascading, eyes stormy. Or her illusion. You've been half alive for years, Dad. I won't watch you fade back into that. His words stung true. Ellen and I had married on momentum, shared loss forging a bond more practical than passionate. Sex dwindled to holidays, conversations to logistics. I'd convinced myself it was enough, until Carter's gaze cracked the mirror. But voicing it aloud felt like treason. One more night. I bargained, pulling him close, lips brushing his temple. Then we face it. He relented, but tension simmered. Dinner was tense. Pasta primavera from canned goods, candlelight flickering shadows on his face. We talked dreams instead. His graphic design portfolio, sketches of urban foxes and starry voids he'd shown me shyly days ago, my buried novel, a queer coming-of-age set in '80s San Francisco. Laughter came easier with wine, but his touches turned possessive, fingers digging into my thigh under the table, as if anchoring me to him. Night fell heavy, moon full and mocking through the skylight. We tangled in my bed downstairs, the one Ellen and I shared on rare visits, sheets twisting as bodies did. He was insatiable, mapping me with mouth and hands, drawing out pleas I hadn't uttered since youth. Love you. He breathed against my neck, the words a brand. I echoed them, lost in the salt of his skin, the rhythm of us sinking like a forgotten song. Sleep came fitful, dreams of chasms and chains. Dawn grayed the windows when tires crunched gravel. Early, too early. Ellen's voice called from the porch, keys jingling, oblivious cheer slicing the quiet. Mark? Carter? Doors frozen shut. Panic jolted me upright. Carter stirred, hazel eyes bleary but alert. Shit, he muttered, yanking on jeans. I threw on sweats, heart pounding, smoothing sheets like evidence in a crime scene. We descended separately. Me first, feigning sleep-rumpled surprise, him trailing with a yawn. She burst in like a whirlwind, parka dusted with highway salt, arms laden with takeout bags from LaGuardia. Surprise. Couldn't stay away from my boys. Hugs followed, hers perfunctory on my cheek, lingering on Carter's with maternal squeeze. He stiffened in her embrace, shooting me a glance loaded with steel. Over greasy Egg McMuffins at the table, normalcy strained. Ellen chattered about client pitches, oblivious to the undercurrent, Carter's foot nudging mine under the table, a Morse code of resolve, my nods mechanical, guilt souring the coffee. You two look cozy, she noted, eyeing our flushed faces. Storm kept you close, huh? Thicker than thieves, Carter quipped, voice edged, but she laughed it off, unpacking her laptop for just a few emails. The day unraveled in domestic farce, her commandeering the kitchen for chili, us chopping onions side by side, knuckles brushing in coded rebellion. Whispers in the pantry, tonight, fueled the fire, but proximity doused it. By evening, snow started again, fat flakes veiling the woods, trapping us triply. Board games by the fire, Monopoly, of all ironies, turned torturous, Carter's Monopoly on Boardwalk a metaphor too on the nose. Ellen's hand on my knee felt foreign, his absence across the coffee table a chasm. Bedtime cleaved us. She curled against me in the master, breath evening to snores, while upstairs, Carter paced the loft. I heard every creak, every sigh. Midnight found me slipping free, padding up in socks, the house a conspirator in shadows. He waited, silhouette against the window, pulling me into a kiss that bruised with need. Tell her now, he urged between gasps, hands fumbling belts. Before I lose you. We didn't make love, too risky with her below, but held fierce, plotting in murmurs. A family meeting tomorrow, truths laid bare. Dawn promised reckoning. It came sideways. Ellen woke early, brewing tea, her mood buoyant until she rifled the bathroom cabinet for aspirin. I heard the gasp from the hallway, my razor, his aftershave side by side, innocent but damning in context. Mark, her voice pitched high when I entered. What's going on? Carter's stuff everywhere. Did he move down here? Denial died on my tongue. Carter appeared at the top of the stairs, shirtless, hair tousled from our phantom night. Her eyes widened, flicking between us, the hoodie draped over the banister, mine, the rumpled throw from the couch. Boys, she pressed, tea mug trembling. It's over, Mom, Carter said, descending slowly, voice steady as granite. For all of us. The kitchen erupted. She demanded explanations, tears streaming as fragments spilled. My kiss with Tom, overheard in a frantic call to him that morning, betrayal compounding. Our confessions, the depth of it. You're my husband, she wailed at me, then whirled on Carter. And you, my son? With him? This is sick. Her word landed like a slap. Carter recoiled, face ashen. Love isn't sick, Mom. Hiding is. But she advanced, venom unspooling. Years of her own insecurities, the first husband's abandonment fueling paranoia. I knew it, she spat. The distance, the secrets. You're both monsters. I stepped between them, arms out. Ellen, stop. This isn't about blame. It's us, all broken in our ways. She laughed, hysterical, grabbing her keys. Broken? You destroyed us. The door slammed, engine roaring to life, tires spinning snow into fury. She was gone, heading back to the city, leaving silence thicker than fog. Carter collapsed against me, sobs muffled in my shirt. Did I push too hard? No, I soothed, holding him as the cabin mourned. We did this together. But togetherness fractured under scrutiny. Her absence echoed, texts barraging, lawyers mentioned, custody of sanity implied. Carter withdrew, sketching furiously in his notebook, dark whirls of pain on paper, while I fielded calls from mutual friends, alibis crumbling. The vacation soured, isolation turning claustrophobic. One night, storm raging anew, he confronted me by the fire. You regret it, don't you? Me. The question gutted. I pulled him down, kisses fierce to prove otherwise. Never you. The cost. God, the cost. We made love desperately, reclaiming agency, but Dawn brought Ellen's ultimatum email. Divorce papers incoming. Carter's tuition cut unless he comes home alone. Betrayal's blade twisted. He'd chosen her side? No, she'd maneuvered, threatening his dreams to reclaim control. Carter read it stone-faced, then hurled his phone into the flames. Fuck her. I'll bartend, crash with friends. As long as I have you. But doubt seated. Was this love or rebellion? The elder stepson who'd always bridged our family now cleaved it asunder. Winter deepened its claws into the Adirondacks, February bleeding into March with relentless gray skies that mirrored the pall over our cabin. Ellen's divorce filing hit like a subpoena, delivered by courier to the nearest post office, a sterile envelope amid seed packets and junk mail. I drove back in silence, snow chains rattling, Carter's sketchbook open on the dash to a half-finished portrait of us, intertwined silhouettes against a stormy lake, tender yet turbulent. We burned the papers that night in the hearth, flames devouring legalese like heresies. Symbolic, Carter quipped, but his laugh rang hollow, eyes shadowed by nights of fitful sleep. The betrayal stung deepest not from her words, while voicemails calling us deviants, pleas from shared friends to seek counseling, but from the fracture in him. My elder stepson, once the glue holding our patchwork family, now questioned every glance, every touch, as if testing for cracks. "You're pulling away," I accused one evening, as we shoveled the drive for the third time that week. Flakes stung our faces, wind whipping his hoodie strings like nooses. He paused, breath clouding, shovel mid-lift. "Not from you, Dad. From this." He gestured vaguely, the isolation, the echo of her absence. "Feels like we're fugitives in our own life." He wasn't wrong. Manhattan beckoned with its grind, my tenure track interview at NYU looming, his senior project deadline a guillotine. We'd postponed returning, cocooning in denial, but reality breached, bills piling, pantry bare. Tom's awkward email, "Heard the news. If you need a couch." I deleted, shame too fresh. Carter's friends texted support, one from his Queer Alliance group offering resources, but he ghosted them, retreating into sketches that grew darker. Thorns entwining hearts, compasses spinning wild. Intimacy faltered too. Our lovemaking, once a defiant blaze, turned tentative. Kisses halting, bodies aligning but minds adrift. "Tell me what you need," I'd whisper, tracing his anchor tattoo, but he'd murmur "you." Even as his eyes wandered to the window, pines whispering doubts. The high tide of conflict crested mid-March, a thaw teasing but not delivering. Ellen escalated, filing for sole custody of marital assets and demanding Carter rehabilitate via therapy, code for conversion, her evangelical sister whispering in her ear. He found the emails on the shared family cloud, hacked in a fit of insomnia. "He's brainwashed him, sis. We save our boy." Rage ignited. Carter stormed the kitchen at dawn, laptop slamming the counter, face thunderous. "She thinks I'm broken. That you corrupted me, like I'm some victim in your pedo fantasy." The accusation reeked of her poison, but it landed like shrapnel. "Carter, that's not." I reached for him, but he jerked back, eyes wild. I grabbed his shoulders, forcing eye contact. "Listen to me. This isn't about raising or falling. It's us, two men seeing each other, really seeing, in a world that blindsides queerness at every turn." Tears welled in his hazel depths, mirroring mine. "Your mom's scared," lashing out. "But you're the bravest soul I know." He sagged against me, sobs racking, the shovel forgotten outside. We held there, coffee perking forgotten, until fury cooled to resolve. "We fight back," he declared, wiping his face. "My way." His rebellion birthed the portfolio, a digital manifesto emailed to Ellen, CC to her lawyer, and our circle, scans of his art, each captioned with truths. 1. Our first kiss, lips tentative as snowflakes. Caption: "This is love, Mom, not corruption." Another, her wedding photo, us three smiling, overlaid with cracks. "We were always fractured. I choose wholeness." The backlash, tsunami ed. Her replies vitriolic, "Disowning you." Friends divided, some ghosting, others rallying with rainbow emojis and "proud of you" DMs. Carter's phone buzzed nonstop, a lifeline amid the storm. But the emotional toll carved hollows under his eyes. He'd wake screaming from nightmares of her dragging him to church basements, curing him with prayers and pills. I anchored him as best I could. Morning runs through slushy trails, where we'd race to the lake and collapse laughing, hands clasped in victory. Evenings cooking from scavenged cans, inventing recipes like divorce stew, laced with wild garlic foraged nearby. Romance flickered in stolen moments, a slow dance to Springsteen on the old radio, his head on my shoulder, stargazing from the roof, bundled in quilts, fingers tracing constellations like promises. Yet doubt not. One night, post-argument with a meddling aunt on speaker, he turned to me by the fire, voice small. "What if we can't make it? Society, family, it's a war." I cupped his face, thumbs brushing freckles. "Then we fight dirty. With art, with words, with this." I kissed him deep, reigniting the spark. We made love upstairs, slow and reverent, his body arching under mine, gasps a symphony of reclamation. "You're my compass," I murmured against his skin, echoing his ink. He came undone with a cry, clinging as if I'd vanish. April thawed the world outside, but inside, tensions simmered to boil. Carter's portfolio went viral in queer art circles, retweets from NYC galleries, an invite to a pride showcase downtown. Elation surged, but Ellen countered with a restraining order, barring me from contact with him until a hearing. Protective custody, her lawyer cited, painting me the predator. The cabin emptied of us both. He Ubered to a friend's in Brooklyn, sketchpad his shield. I rattled alone, packing boxes of a life dissolving. Court date loomed in Albany, a sterile room where truths would duked out. Friends advised lawyers, but money strained. Ellen freezing accounts, my adjunct pay a pittance. On the eve, Carter snuck back under cover of dusk, slipping through the woods like a ghost. We met on the porch, embrace fierce. I testified today, he confessed, snowmelt dripping from eaves. Told the judge everything. Our story, not hers. Relief warred with fear. And adjournment. But she looked broken. Asked to talk, just us. My gut twisted, betrayal specter. Don't go alone. He nodded, but eyes held secrets. I love you, Dad. Whatever happens. He left at midnight, kiss lingering like frostbite. Dawn brought silence. Then his text, meeting her at the diner. Be strong. Hours crawled. By noon, no word. Panic clawed. Visions of reconciliation, him swayed by blood. I drove to Albany, courthouse empty, then the chain diner off I-87, neon sign flickering, open. They were in a booth, heads bent, her hand on his, tears streaking her face. He looked up as I entered, expression unreadable. Mark, she said, voice raw. Sit. The betrayal unfolded gentle as a gut punch, not his, but hers yielding. I was wrong, she whispered, squeezing his fingers. The lawyer. It was fear. I lost my boy once. Couldn't again. To me, I pushed you into a box. Forgive. Carter's gaze met mine, steady. Family meeting, round 2. We talked till dusk. Ugly truths aired. Her loneliness, my deceptions, his unspoken resentments. No easy absolution, but a truce. Divorce amicable, therapy for all, Carter's choice sovereign. I picked both of you, he said, voice cracking. But on my terms. Driving home, 3 of us crammed in the truck, tentative chatter over radio folk. Felt like rebirth. The cabin awaited, not as prison but pivot. Summer beckoned, but winter's scars lingered, teaching that love's not linear, but a compass spinning true. Yet truces test in tempests. May unfurled green and forgiving, the Adirondacks blooming riotous, wildflowers carpeting trails we'd once snowshowed, lake ice long melted to mirror ripples. Carter shuttled between us. Weekends in Brooklyn with his art collective, plotting murals for Pride. Tuesdays in Manhattan with Ellen, navigating therapy sessions where tears flowed freer than bourbon. I held the cabin as neutral ground, weekends of us, him and me, painting walls sky blue, a fresh start. But old wounds suppurate. Ellen's forgiveness, chafed, laced with micro-judgments. Carter's thriving, must be the counseling. As if our love were a phase sloughed like snakeskin. He'd bristle, defending us fiercely. It's you and Dad who taught me boundaries, but tension coiled, a spring wound tight. The real fracture came in June, Pride Month irony biting deep. Carter's showcase at a Soho gallery drew crowds. His series, Thaw, inspired by our winter, sold 3 pieces. The intertwined silhouettes fetching 5 figures, whispers of a Guggenheim nod. Ellen attended, arm linked with mine in performative unity, but her smile strained when collectors cooed over the stepfather muse. At the after-party in a rooftop bar overlooking the Hudson, champagne fizzing like fireworks, she cornered him by the railing. I watched from afar, nursing a gin, as her gestures sharpened, pointing, pleading. He shook his head, backing away, face paling. Then she slapped the check from his hand, his first big sale, meant for a shared apartment with me, and stormed out, muttering, enabling this delusion. Carter found me later, shattered. She said it's a phase, that real love's sacrifice, like her staying with my bio dad till he cheated. He downed a shot, eyes glassy. Wants me to choose, family legacy or deviant fantasy. Rage boiled, but I swallowed it, pulling him into a cab instead. Back at my sublet, Ellen kept the apartment, me crashing in faculty housing. The night dissolved into fury-fueled sex. Him riding me on the futon, nails raking my chest, cries of catharsis. You're my family, he gasped, collapsing spent. But dawn brought hangover truths. Her betrayal, not of body but soul, severing the maternal cord he'd clung to. He cut contact, blocking her number, emails routed to spam. No more bridges, he declared, packing for a sublet in Bushwick with gallery connections. I helped haul boxes, heart swelling at his independence, shelves of art supplies, bed frame we'd assemble together. Our place, he grinned, kissing me amid cardboard chaos. July scorched the city, but our rhythm cooled the burn. Mornings tangled in sheets, coffee brewed strong. Afternoons him sketching at the kitchen table, me grading essays nearby, feet hooked under chairs. Evenings wandered village haunts, Stonewall ghosts nodding approval. Dinners at hole-in-the-wall falafel joints, hands laced over hummus. Romance deepened, unhurried. Lazy Sundays biking Central Park, picnics by the reservoir where he'd read poetry. Walt Whitman, queer's prophet, voice husky with subtext. Yet humanity demands reckoning. August brought Ellen's olive branch, a letter, handwritten on lavender stationery, delivered by courier to the gallery. Carter read it aloud over Thai takeout, voice wavering. Apologies profuse, admissions of her bigotry rooted in church-raised shame, a PFLAG pamphlet enclosed. I lost you both by fearing loss, she wrote. Come home, not to fix, but to heal. Tears streaked his cheeks, dripping onto pad thai. Part of me hates her. Part misses the mom who bandaged knees. Forgiveness isn't erasure, I said, wiping his face. It's space. He chose outreach. Coffee at a neutral Starbucks, me waiting blocks away. Hours later, he returned buoyant. She's trying. Therapy, real shit. Wants to meet you. Neutral ground. The diner redux was awkward poetry. Her older, lines etched deeper. My guard up, but softening at her genuine, I'm proud of him and the man who helped shape him. No hugs, but handshakes firm. A pact. Holidays separate, but birthdays shared. Carter bridged, elder stepson reborn as mediator, his compassion the glue. Fall gilded the leaves, NYU semesters sinking our chaos. His thesis defense aced, my tenure granted with a queer history elective greenlit. We hosted Thanksgiving. Just us, turkey brined and apple cider, Ellen's pecan pie arriving by courier with a note, grateful for seconds. Laughter echoed, wine toasting futures. But the story's heart pulsed in quiet depths. December returned us to the cabin, not vacation, but vigil. Snow fell gentle, blanketing sins. By the fire, Carter sketched our portrait anew, not silhouettes, but faces, mine weathered with laugh lines, his alight with peace. Compass between us, pointing home. Nothing prepared me for this, I murmured, nuzzling his neck. He turned, eyes warm. Best surprise ever. We made love as flakes danced, bodies a testament. Kinky twists of limbs, whispers of forever. Outside, the world spun indifferent, but inside, we'd forged a humanism raw and redemptive. Love not despite flaws, but through them. Elder stepson no more, but equal, eternal. In America's vast tapestry, big cities, small towns, winters fierce and forgiving, we claimed our thread, woven bold.